Good morning, Philadelphia. It's time for the PACT Foundation Breakfast. Now, our host, Dean Miller.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our annual PACT Foundation Breakfast. It has been an amazing 10 years, and we're excited for the future. We have an incredible show for you today. We are broadcasting this live on YouTube and excited that you can join us. While we can't be together in person this year, we're thankful to those of you who are waking up with PACT virtually and helping us celebrate neurodiversity in the workplace. I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors, in particular our title sponsor, EY. Thanks also to our silver sponsors, Amatec and Vanguard. And last but not least, our bronze sponsors, which include PACT founding leaders, Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Capgemini Invent, Cozen O'Connor, Dwayne Morris, Independence Blue Cross, New Spring Capital, Osage Partners, and Pepper Hamilton. Now, I want to first off recognize today's holiday. And if you hadn't got a chance to see, I dropped a video a couple of weeks ago to talk about PACT's commitment to fighting systemic racism, to supporting inclusion, and most importantly, to elevating equality, and in particular within our tech community and our investment communities. We recognize today's holiday. We support Black Lives Matter. And for us, the decision to proceed with this program is all about diversity. And today we're going to talk about an area of diversity that doesn't get a lot of attention, neurodiversity. But this area in particular affects Black lives, affects a lot of minority lives, and is oftentimes undiagnosed or much later diagnosed than with white children. So we're excited to present this program to you today to, again, talk about diversity in the workplace and neurodiversity in particular. And to help us with this program, I'd like to introduce and welcome this morning my co-host, PACT board member, public speaker, and technology and lifestyle contributor, Stephanie Humphrey.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Great. Welcome, Stephanie. It's so great to have you.
Thank you. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I hope everybody is awake and ready to go. I am so glad also that you made that reference to Juneteenth and the importance of understanding diversity, because when we talk about Black Lives Matter and the school to prison pipeline, the fact that some children are being misdiagnosed or diagnosed later really contributes to that and a lot more problems down the line. So it's important for us to identify areas of diversity where we can be more fair and equitable across the board. And neurodiversity is absolutely one of those. So I'm excited about the conversation today.
I'm as well. Should we get started?
Yeah, well, wait a minute. I gotta see your mug first. What's going on here? Because I'm very excited to show mine. I'm like, because I'm always bringing you something interesting. Yeah, this is a Shadow Stormtrooper mug. Yeah, all the bells and whistles. I love this thing.
So mine is kind of standard issue, but what's really cool is this, which is a top that keeps my beverage warm.
There you go. So when you got to steep your tea and stuff like that. I love this because it's huge. I can actually put a full 12 ounces of anything in here. I'm not going to say what I have in here this morning, but no, it's great. I love my Star Wars, all things Star Wars.
You do know the program is an hour long, Stephanie.
I do. I'll sip slowly.
No bathroom breaks. All right. It's time to get the audience engaged.
Yeah.
Let's ask the audience, please grab your phone. All right. Grab that phone. Don't put it down. Grab your phone and use your camera to scan the QR code on screen that you're about to see, or you can head to menti.com, MENTI.com, and type in the code 700003. Again, we'll give you a minute here to use your phone. Again, menti.com, MENTI.com. Code is 700003.
And our first question of the morning is, what is your beverage choice this morning? What are you drinking? Coffee, tea, water, smoothie, or other. Those are your choices. So what are you drinking this morning? What are you using to get yourself riled up and excited? I am not a coffee drinker, Dean. I never have been. I use it when I need it to just give myself that boost, but I'm not that person that, every morning is like, don't talk to me until I've had my coffee. I don't really do that. So I actually have green tea in my Stormtrooper mug this morning.
So I am a coffee drinker, but I only became a coffee drinker 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yep, and I'm full in.
Now you're hooked.
I'm drinking. Corsica from our local coffee purveyor.
Okay, very nice. So what are we? Let's see. We got some pretty decent. Wow, I think coffee's winning out. I'm taking a look at our poll results here, and coffee is ahead by a large margin. So I think a lot of people might have needed a little bit of a boost this morning to get going.
Apparently, the added sleep in the coronavirus shutdown is not impacting the coffee.
At all. Well, caffeine never hurt anybody. Get them going, get them going.
Exactly.
Are we doing our second question as well?
I think we are.
Okay, so our second question, we have another poll question. So same QR code, same URL. How are you dressed for the day? Because, in this time of Zoom, it could go a lot of different ways depending on what the meeting is, what you're wearing on top, what you're wearing on the bottom. But are you still in your PJs? Are you in workout gear? Are you everyday casual? Or are you dressed for the office? Keep in mind, we can't see any of you. So if you're still in your PJs, that is perfectly okay.
And again, if you're just joining us, use menti.com, menti.com, and type in the code 700003.
And I will say, I put on a shirt with a collar, which is rare for me. But it is sort of business on top, party on the bottom, because I do have basketball shorts on. So
all right. So now that we know you're paying attention, let's get to the heart of why we're here this morning. The PACT Foundation Breakfast is our annual celebration of access and inclusion in innovation. And this year, as we've talked about, we've chosen to highlight neurodiversity in innovation and in the workforce.
And that's the thing, because according to a study by Drexel University, 58% of young adults with autism are unemployed. That is huge. And we're so fortunate to have the people we have here this morning to talk about how to address that issue. And during today's program, we're going to discuss how we can adjust recruitment, selection, and career development to really reflect a broader definition of talent.
Stephanie, do you know anyone personally who's autistic, an adult who's unemployed?
I don't know any adults. Some of my friends do have children that are autistic, but I can't. Well, actually, I take that back. I did work with someone once, as he was my producer on a show that I worked on, who was on the spectrum. He was high functioning Asperger's, and he was awesome. There was. Honestly, if he hadn't said something to me about it and told me, I wouldn't have really had a reason to think anything differently about his capabilities or abilities. But yeah, I think that's the only person I can remember in that sort of category.
So I do. I actually have a nephew with Asperger's, an adult nephew in his 30s, in his mid 30s. And he has struggled with it his whole life. And he's high functioning, but has significant anxiety and addiction issues. And sadly, he has not been able to really function in society as a result. And it's really, really, really sad.
That's sad.
I'm really excited, though, because as always, a portion of the proceeds from today's program are going to benefit a couple of nonprofits that are doing some just tremendous work in our community. And this year, we're going to support Transition Pathways, which is an organization that's part of the A.J. Drexel Autism Institute at Drexel University, which we're going to hear about in a little bit, and Coded by Kids. And as you know, Coded by Kids leader, Sylvester Mobley, also a fellow PACT board member, doing incredible work to identify technology and teach technology at early ages. And for a lot of autistic children as well as adults, technology is a really big outlet.
Absolutely, absolutely. And two really, really worthwhile organizations. So we're going to learn a little bit more about both of these organizations as we move through the program. But at any time during our program, you can donate to them through the event website or the QR code that's on the screen now. So we encourage you to dig deep and make a donation to these wonderful, wonderful organizations.
Thanks so much, Steph. We're going to see you a little bit later in the show, but let's get to the next session now.
See you soon.
So now let us get to our first speaker of the day. Please welcome Jamel Mitchell, the Neurodiversity Chief Talent Strategy Leader at EY. Welcome, Jamel.
Good morning, Dean. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
The platform is yours.
Thank you. So, Dean, can I start by actually showing my cup as well? Because I have a cup that I would like to display. I'm going to follow Stephanie's lead. This cup that I have here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it. It's a pretty large mug, and it says on it, I can't even. And it's actually not my mug, but I actually brought it for my daughter, and I use it often, and that's how I start the mornings. I can't even, with a real large cup of coffee. So Stephanie, I was in that poll. So I am super, super excited to be talking with you on this morning about a very interesting topic. The topic is so interesting because I think that the more information that we can get out about what neurodiversity is, it is very important because it helps to make a conversation really relevant, and it puts it on the forefront, which is often something that we don't discuss enough, I would say. When we don't discuss things, it's almost as if it doesn't exist. And I think that's the space that, unfortunately, some individuals have been in as a direct result of their diagnosis and or disability. So I would like to get into what I want to cover today. And we have a few slides that we're going to show for you. And the first slide that's up, it has a question on there that said, what happens when great minds don't think alike? And we'll let you guys noodle on that for a couple of seconds, just because it is so profound, because we are often in a place where we like to work with individuals that have very similar streams of thought that we have. We like to be around people that really kind of get us when we start a conversation, maybe some of those that can complete the sentence for you. But I think that there is such creativity and such opportunity when you have individuals that think very, very differently. And so while that slide is up, I'm actually going to purposely pause for another 10 seconds. All right. So I'm doing so because I want to make sure that we challenge ourselves within a place of uncomfortability. Oftentimes we don't like silence, but for a person that is neurodiverse, many of them may take a little bit longer to process. Some of them may take a little bit longer to reply, but it doesn't mean that they aren't engaged. It doesn't mean that their comments or their contributions are any less relevant. But unfortunately, again, that has been a part of their reality. So here for us at EY, we actually challenged ourselves to look at this question and go deeper. I want to go into the next slide because in everything, we challenge ourselves to really understand the why behind the cause, the why behind the question, the why behind the different directions that we actually go into. And our why actually could be, I would say, put into a number of buckets. And by no means am I going to read all of the verbiage that's on the slide, but I do want to call attention, to a couple of things. And in our space where innovation is occurring second by second and disruption is happening all around us, when we initially started our NCOE, our Neurodiversity Centers of Excellence, we took that into consideration because we knew that if we did not disrupt ourselves, that someone else might do it for us. And that is something that we didn't want to happen. We looked at how can we take individuals that have a strong acumen, some of them, for technology and cause a bit of this collision with existing processes. Now, we all know that we have certain ways of doing things, and many individuals are, let's say, creatures of habit. So we like to do what we like to do the way that we like to do it. But when you bring a different school of thought into the discussion or into the room or into the chat box, you have to lean way or give way to the fact that there's going to be someone that gives you a very different thought process and may come up with some really creative ideas that you never ever thought about. So when we look at how are we going to continue to disrupt ourselves within EY, what does this transformation look like? Well, the transformation looks like being able to take this thing called talent innovation, right? And kind of strategically placing it in areas where you know that there is additional opportunities. Those opportunities give more meaningful action. It gives more meaningful thinking as you start going through different processes. So I talked about disruption for a quick second. I talked about what this transformation looks like for a moment as well. And again, I want to spend a little bit more time on what this collision of this algorithmic thinking looks like versus the typical way that we've actually looked at how we perform certain tasks. We have taken individuals with a very strong acumen within technology and kind of infused them, not necessarily transform, but infused, wherein we made both things come together that actually resulted in a very strong or even a stronger skill set amongst our entire organization. Let's go into the next slide. So this slide actually breaks things down for us even a little bit more, right? And we wanted to understand, what does this focus look like for us? What does the categories and how do you keep things in nice swim lanes that could be very effective for both those in the swim lanes as well as for those outside of those swim lanes? And so we look at our NCOE and our focus in a couple of key areas. And we like to refer to them as the A, B, C, D. And at EY, I'm sure as with any organization, we love acronyms. So what is the A? The A for us is automation. The A for us is an ability to take our team into all of the categories that would fall under that A space. So whether it be artificial intelligence, again, whether it be automation, whether it be even to a degree augmented reality, these are things that our team members are actually focusing in on. The B for us is blockchain. How do we take our processes and be able to upskill some of our team members in blockchain such that they have certifications? And this is in addition to those that are coming in with certifications within blockchain. The C for us is cyber. Some of our individuals have come into the firm with a cybersecurity certification. Others have come into the firm with cybersecurity certifications, and we are applying that knowledge into various spaces within our organization. The D for us is data science, but it's really all things data. And that can be considered data mining, data integration, data cleansing, data analytics, but again, all things data. The individuals that we have brought on board who are actually key team members for us have actually focused a great deal on going into the data and really helping to understand what story does that data tell. And the last thing, which is an E that we refer to sometimes, is the emerging technology. What things are really coming down the pike and how can we harness that technology in order for us to advance the great work that EY does as a whole? Can we move on to the next slide, please? So this slide actually gives a deeper dive into how EY is actually structured. as far as our NCOE is concerned. We want to take a step back and acknowledge the fact that our NCOE, our Neurodiverse Centers of Excellence, has been in existence now for about 4.5 years. We started with a pilot in Philadelphia. Our first cohort was there, birthed, born, and bred in Philly. We've since added to that cohort a number of times. We have some dynamic talent there, but we didn't stop right there within the Philadelphia space. We branched off into Dallas and ultimately into San Jose, Chicago, as well as Nashville. We are also continuing to build out our centers where there is business need. And it's something interesting what has occurred when we are putting our pools of talent together, where they work collaboratively within centers, also outside of those centers, cross centers, as well as with some of our team members actually out of the country. But when we brought these individuals together, the way that their talent actually infused was not just interesting, it was inspiring, and we received great benefits from doing so. The technical abilities within our team actually now exceed 100. We actually have badges within EY and their certifications as well, both internally and externally. And now the badges and certifications are upwards to about 150 with the talent that we have. All of our team members are full-time permanent employees. They are in various ranks within the actual NCOE because it is a growth model. So you have some at one rank and some at higher ranks. The actual model itself that we've actually worked on has been something that we've worked hard to scale. One of the reasons why I can say this specifically is that when we started off small and we continued to grow after we learned lesson after lesson. The scalable model is one such that we were able to launch and literally stand up 3 centers in calendar year 2019. That's a pretty amazing feat, with those centers also having about 15 individuals within each of them. I want to transition to the next slide, but before I do so, I want to call out the fact that this model is not a model that we are kind of keeping in this tight, close-knit within the Americas. Our ability to expand is something that we also not only have thought about and are thinking about, it's something that we are actively on our way with. We are in conversations with the build of a NCOE in India, as well as one in our first international location. I'm using air quotes there. It will be in Canada, Toronto specifically, so that's coming soon. We also have been in talks with the UK as well as Ireland. So the actual NCOE model is something that's resonating, not again, just within the Americas, but across the firm in its entirety. We are super excited again to also be able to share that Costa Rica is also another location that will be standing up in NCOE within the very near future. So more to come for us here at EY. I want to transition again to this last slide, and something I want to call out that we are super excited about is the fact that in 2019, we made Fortune's Change the World list. And this is actually really important to us because it actually allows EY to stand out amongst the crowd, where this is a list that I think 54 companies globally are actually kind of put on this space for the events that they are doing or the efforts that they're doing to not just change where they are from their city, their state, or even America's perspective, but the world. And I think that's an amazing call out that we actually have, and that I'm very proud to make and very proud to be a part of such a great organization. So Dean, I am sure that there may have been some questions that have come in as I've been talking for just a few minutes. I'm super excited to hear and or respond to any questions that are out there about the content that I just covered.
I do have a few, Jamal, but first, congratulations on what you've done at EY, the recognition from Fortune's Change the World list. Stephanie and I talked in the up front about just the number of individuals in the workforce or out of work, and I just want to share with you that I got a text while you were talking from an investor right here in our community who reached out to me and said, "You may not know this, but I'm a neurodiverse individual and struggle and have struggled." And so what you're sharing, what our other speakers are sharing, is being tuned in not by just individuals that want to support the cause, but that are also impacted. So really appreciate all your work. Hey, my question, my first question, we just have time for a couple here. What advice would you give companies that are thinking about starting a program?
I love that question, and Dean, it actually happens very organically. And I love to just say, jump in, do it. Now, when you do it, you have to do it smaller and not make lofty claims and not start off with 100 or 50 people like we did. My advice would be to start small, clearly, but just to make sure that you make a commitment and you actually do it. That question comes up so many times, whether I should consider doing it. My answer is always yes, you should do it. It should be thought through. You should have sponsorship from senior leaders, as well as those that would be on the ground helping to support the team. But by all means, please do it. It is so necessary, as we need to be able to positively impact that unemployment rate and drive that number down, because the talent really would be beneficial for our organizations.
Great. Jamel, there's an increasing body of evidence that a diverse workforce positively impacts productivity, outcomes, and even on the investment side, investment returns. Yeah, I'm sure you look at metrics that highlight productivity, but are there some intangible benefits that you can share, benefits of working with neurodiverse talent?
Absolutely, Dean. And EY is a professional services firm, and so we measure everything. So the measurement is there, hence the reason why we have been able to scale where we talk about productivity. But there are some intangible things, excuse me, Dean, that you mentioned, and it really speaks to what does employee engagement look like as far as working with neurodiverse team members that identify and that are out and willing to share. Well, I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like great collaboration. It looks like great teaming. It looks like individuals having a greater sense of pride, being a part of an organization. And I'll give you a couple of quick examples from our folks in our Philadelphia office. When we launched our NCOE in Philly, we heard individuals that are directly in the office making strong claims about they were so happy to work within EY, and it was my firm. This was my team. The EY has one of our focuses is helping to build a better working world. And the example of bringing our NCOE team members into the firm, it really gave clear, tangible, really examples as to what this looks like. I can see how we're building a better working world, because this actually impacts a person that's contributing to the world as well as to the organization. And to me, it made it that much more real. And so you have people really wanting to be a part, such that I often have to say, okay, guys, we have enough volunteers. Let's kind of do this on a rotational basis as far as supporting our team and getting involved in different projects. But that's one of the examples I think really resonates with me the most. It's because they see what building a better working world looks like in action, not just words on a piece of paper.
Fantastic. Jamel, thanks so much for being here this morning, for all you're doing, for all EY's doing, and certainly for EY's support of this foundation event this morning.
Dean, thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been great. And so can I just say good morning, Philadelphia? Just always want to do that.
Well said. All right, it's time to move.
So that was just a little bit about transition pathways. We want to remind you that you can make donations for our two beneficiaries of today's PACT Foundation Breakfast, Transition Pathways and Coded for Kids, by using the link on the Eventbrite page. So again, we want to please urge you to support these really, really worthwhile organizations. And you can also use the QR code that you see on your screen right now with your phone to make a donation. So again, please consider supporting these worthwhile organizations. So we are moving on, and our next two guests are colleagues and collaborators. I've listened to podcasts with them. I've had a chance to talk to them together in preparation for this event. And you can tell that they really do actually like each other and enjoy working together and have a very strong working relationship. So I think you're going to get a whole lot out of this conversation. They are working together on a really innovative program to train and employ autistic adults within one of the largest employers in the city of Philadelphia, Independence Blue Cross. So please help me welcome Ernie Dianastasis, aka Ernie D. He is the CEO of the Precisionists Inc. And Janine Heffernan is the Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer for Independent Blue Cross. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
So happy to have you here and so excited to hear your story. So if you can see my backdrop at all, you know that I am into superheroes, Team Marvel, if you will, hashtag Team Marvel. So we're going to start with both of your origin stories. Talk to me a little bit about, Ernie, you first, about what motivated you to start TPI.
Thank you, Stephanie. And it's so wonderful to be here and appreciate it. And it's always wonderful to be with Jeannie. I need to start, though, by showing my coffee cup.
Yes, please.
This is a biodegradable paper cup. So we're obviously back in the office now. But I did want to share that. Nice. I first got into this in 2013 when at the time, governor of Delaware, Jack Markell, introduced me to a social entrepreneur from Denmark, whose name is Torkild Sanna, who started a global movement to find, assess, train, and employ autistic adults into technology jobs. And so our company, the Precisionists, or TPI, as we're often called, is a national IT and business services firm headquartered in Wilmington, Delaware. And our driving mission is to create over 10,000 jobs for people with developmental disabilities like autism by the year 2025. Now, I'll just take a minute or two and talk about our business model because it's simple yet innovative and powerful. We're going to accomplish this goal, this 10,000 job goal, by focusing on two important journeys. One for people with developmental disabilities like autism, and one for our clients we perform IT and business services for, like Independence Blue Cross. There's a reason that this group from ages 18 to 65 has been, as you said earlier, Stephanie, 58% unemployed. And the numbers are actually 75 to 80% when you add underemployed as well. They just haven't been able to get through the first 5 minutes of a traditional HR interview. You see, this isn't a group that makes small talk easily or looks you in the eye. They may fidget. They're all interview killers in corporate America. However, those attributes have zero bearing on someone's ability to test software, do data entry, do cybersecurity, or do back office work. This population is extraordinary at attention to detail, pattern recognition, accuracy, productivity, and yes, precision. They also tend to be fiercely loyal and have a great work ethic. Our employees are really, really proud just to be known as Precisionists. They simply need to be put on a journey to be workplace ready. So we put them through a 4-week assessment and training program, which not only gives them the technical skills to do the work that we're training them for, but we also teach them how to make presentations, email etiquette, and other professional skills that they never had a chance to learn. So the second key journey is the one that's happening in parallel is the journey that we are helping our clients with. We prepare their culture and their work environment so that these terrific neurodiverse people can be successful. So, for example, we've led the largest energy company in the country, Exelon, which includes Pico Energy and Delmarva Power, on this journey. Also, the largest pharma company, Pfizer, the state of Arizona, M&T Bank, Vertex, and many others. So we do a wide range of projects, which range from IT to back office accounting and HR. One of our most treasured partnerships is with a great company right here in Center City, Philly, Independence Blue Cross. And we started this journey with them 2 years ago, thanks to the wonderful leadership of Jeannie Heffernan and her team. And she'll be able to, I'm sure, share some of the insight of our partnership. Thanks, Stephanie.
Fantastic. That's so wonderful. I mean, you saw this need in the marketplace and within this specific demographic, and you've been able to create something that has really been successful and a win-win for both groups. So, kudos to you, Ernie, for the work that you're doing. Now, Jeannie, to your origin story, what was Independence Blue Cross's motivation for getting involved in a program like this?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, Dan Hilferty, our CEO, attended a session with John Fry from Drexel University, and John was promoting TPI to many of the leaders in the Philadelphia region. And if anyone knows Dan Hilferty, he's the type of person, he listens and then he acts. And his action was, Jeannie, this is something we need to do. We should be involved. Make it happen. So it was wonderful because I had a project that I hadn't been able to tackle in HR as an example. And similar to what Jamal said earlier, start small. And HR decided to be the pilot of taking advantage of this business model. And our organization is over 80 years old. And all of the personnel or HR files were paper-based in a very large room with many of our documents being archived. And so it was very bureaucratic, problematic to get information requested. So this was an area of opportunity that we talked to Ernie and his team about to say, it would be wonderful if we can convert this data and put it on a technology platform that allows us to access it in a much more quick, efficient way. So he agreed, the team agreed, we put our heads together, we mapped it out, and we were able to successfully convert 9 years worth of paper-based information in a matter of 7 months.
Wow.
And the quality of the work was off the charts. There, we monitored, we tracked, we did quality assurance checks on the work that was being performed, and it was meticulous. So we were then able to be the champions to our organization to say, this is a really amazing model, and let's see if we can try to make it work better somewhere else in the company. So as a result of that, we were then able to identify a second project whereby we had a workers' compensation division that we sold off, but all of the claims and the history and the background was also paper-based. So we hired TPI to come in with a team of people, and they estimated it would be 8 weeks worth of work to tackle the challenge and the project, and instead they finished it in 6 weeks. And it was, again, quality work, quality production, and quality outcomes. So it was a wonderful start. And now, just to put it out there, we pitched it to other leaders in our organization because of the prior success of these 2 projects. And we now have 8 other areas of the organization that are on the runway waiting to take advantage of this partnership and arrangement we have.
Wow, that's wonderful. Ernie talked a little bit about what they do to get their employees ready, the 4 weeks of training, presentation skills, as in addition to the technical skills. Was there anything you needed to do, Jeannie, on the end of Independence Blue Cross to get your organization ready for these employees?
Oh, absolutely. And again, it was Ernie and his team were wonderful in helping us understand the nuances and what we needed to be thinking about and planning for. But the key to success really was the planning. If you plan well on the front end and know exactly what it is you're trying to do, the execution becomes flawless. And we spent quite a bit of time mapping, planning, organizing, so that we were able to successfully execute the project at hand. And so that's half the battle.
Fantastic. So let's shift a little bit to the success stories. It sounds like it's been an incredible partnership for the both of you. Anything you can share, Ernie, about how successful this partnership has been for you and your employees?
Well, it's as Jeannie said so well that, we had a chance to do that second project. Now there's about 8 different areas that as we're coming out of COVID, we're so excited to begin a dialogue to begin to look at how this program can expand. But Jeannie's right. We started small and we posted up a very strong success with metrics that can be measured. That's really important. And because this is the most important thing about this is it's a performance-based model. This is not a charity model. And the only way a program like this and these individuals will have successful outcomes long-term is they have to be adding value, and they have to be as good or better than anyone else that's in the company. So that's what fuels the success, is that commitment to delivering the great results. But also, I want to give credit to Independence. Their culture, their community already focus on strong community contribution. I mean, that really helps this become a step for them. It wasn't a big stretch like it might be for some other organizations. It is a very natural step when you think about all the other great things that they do in the community.
Fantastic. And Jeannie, any success stories you can share?
Oh, absolutely. I on the podcast, if anyone listened, to bring it home, I went to a breakfast with Ernie and happened to sit next to a young woman. I introduced myself as Jeannie Heffernan from Independence Blue Cross. She got very excited, very animated, introduced herself to me and explained, I work for Independence Blue Cross. And I said, oh, really? Where? And she then proceeded to explain that she was with the precisionist, but she identified herself as an Independence employee because she was working on the project for months and months and was just ecstatic about her experience. And the success story there was she did so well on our project that ultimately she got promoted and moved on to a bigger, better, more complex project under the TPI. And so it was just wonderful to be able to see her, talk to her, and ultimately she was able to get her own apartment and live independently. So, that's a real tangible way of describing what TPI is doing and how they're really making a difference.
Fantastic. That's so wonderful to hear. And Jeannie, I'm going to stay with you. Talk a little bit about what's next for this partnership and for this initiative within Independence Blue Cross.
Sure, absolutely. I'm thrilled. And again, if COVID-19 hadn't taken over our lives, we would have been off and running. But before we left to work from home, myself and Kristen Cashman, who works with me and has been instrumental in the success and the relationship with TPI, we shared with many leaders what the 2 projects were, the outcomes, the success. We described the model, and literally 8 applications came in from leaders all across the company, some being in our IT area, specifically our application development area with some testing opportunities. Our underwriting leader came forward to say, wow, I could really use some help with quality assurance, rate audits, data entry, pricing agreements. We needed reviews on quality reviews on our customer renewals. So there's a lot of opportunity for this to continue for a very long period of time. And we're thrilled.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know the employees appreciate it as well. Ernie, so you talked about 10K by 2025. What's going on with TPI? How close are you to getting to that goal?
Well, it's a big goal and we have a lot of work to do, but we're well, we have been growing very, very quickly, and we're so excited about it because of partnerships like the one we have with Independence. So we're only 3.5 years old, but we're in multiple markets already. We have innovation and technology centers in Wilmington, Delaware, Nashville, Tennessee, and we just opened one in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're going to be opening 2 more over the next 6 months. So we are taking this across the country. And we hope that markets and major markets like Philadelphia across the country are going to embrace this. I think there's wonderful momentum. You heard Jamel and what EY is doing. You're going to hear another excellent firm talk in a few minutes. It's a movement. It's a real movement, and we're just grateful and excited to be part of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So thank you so much, Ernie Dianastasis, Ernie D, the CEO of the Precisionist Inc., and Jeannie Heffernan is the Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer for Independence Blue Cross. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us this morning, and I wish you continued success in your partnership. Now we are going to watch a quick video about our second beneficiary for today's PACT Foundation Breakfast, Coded by Kids.
We are so grateful for the work of Coded by Kids and Transition Pathways and excited to support them here this morning. We'll be using a portion of proceeds from this program to support them, but we encourage you to make a donation to support either or both Coded by Kids and Transition Pathways. You can do so with the QR code here, which we'll leave up for a second or so. You can also do so through our Eventbrite page. As we're transitioning, I also want to thank Ernie D, Jeannie, and Stephanie for that last session, which was terrific. And yeah, I got more information from a participant who was very thankful, Jeannie, that you didn't have your ceiling fan on. Neurodiversity has many, many implications, and the sensory overload is a big piece of that. So that person was very thankful that your ceiling fan wasn't on in your home. So much appreciated. Okay, it's finally time this morning for our last session. We're going to hear from two individuals with a personal stake in educating us all about neurodiversity in the workplace. And first, please welcome the co-founder and CEO of Ultranuts, Rajesh Anandan. Rajesh?
Hi, everyone. As you can see from my background, I'm in my daughter's room, and she went to town on my nails yesterday, so I'm in her world. She's 7. Could someone put up the slides, please? Great, next slide, please. So at the beginning of the year, when the COVID crisis started to come into full view, every company was scrambling to adapt to this new reality. And Ultranauts from day one has been fully distributed. Everybody works from home. We've had the luxury of 7 years to experiment with different tools and practices to keep a fully remote and virtual team engaged and connected and empowered. And so operationally, nothing changed. But at the same time, we were in a very different world where we were trying to get our work done, being surrounded by fear and panic and uncertainty. And in that kind of context, the performance of your team really depends on feeling safe. and that psychological safety is a critical factor in building resilient, high-performing teams. And so we were very mindful of making sure that we continued to create and nurture an environment where our teammates felt safe in a climate where everything else felt unsafe. And so we're really relieved to know, based on polling that we do on our team, we actually poll our team at 5 p.m. local time every day, and it cycles through about a dozen polls. One of those relates to psychological safety, and it's a statement: I feel comfortable sharing my needs and questions with my supervisors as a proxy for psychological safety. And at the peak of COVID, in late March, early April, close to 80% of our team felt safe. Next slide, please. And as a result, in the first quarter, our business grew 22% year over year. In the second quarter, we are expecting to grow at quarter ending June 45% year over year. We're accelerating through COVID and doing that while maintaining 100 net promoter score among our clients and delivering value with every day and every week our teams go to work. Next slide, please. We set out 7 years ago, my co-founder Art Checkman and I, to build a business that could demonstrate that neurodiversity, including autism, is a competitive advantage for business. And we set out to do that very simply by building a world-class business that could be the best in our industry. Next slide, please. And the industry we're in is what we call quality engineering, which essentially means partnering with engineering teams, data science teams, to ensure the quality of the software they're building, the machine learning models they're building, analytics platforms they're building. If you could keep tabbing through to the next slide. And we provide a range of services across data, analytics, software, digital experiences, all around quality across a wide range of industries that are going transformation. Next slide, please. And as a result of the work we do and the value we bring, not who we are, but the results we deliver, we now work with a range of Fortune 5 and startup clients, everyone from AIG, Berkshire Hathaway, Bank of New York, Comcast, Warner Media, all the way to Slack. And we've, along the way, been able to build the world's first fully distributed workplace for neurodiverse talent. Next slide, please. And so today, we have teammates working in 20 states across the US. We're all onshore in the US. And 3/4 of our entire employee base is on the autism spectrum across many roles, not just our engineering roles. Our head of recruiting is on the spectrum. My colleague on the leadership team, who is our principal data scientist and head of quality, is on the spectrum. And I'll just pause to say, for an event on neurodiversity, I'm embarrassed about my oversight to not inviting one of my colleagues who is neurodivergent to be speaking here and sharing our story. And so I hope you'll forgive me for that oversight. Next slide, please. And when we talk about neurodiversity and really cognitive diversity, Jamel talked a little bit about how cognitive diversity is critical as you're pursuing new markets and embracing new technologies. And there's a fair bit of evidence that cognitive diversity actually does drive business performance. It's not a theory, it's a proven thesis, both in terms of faster solving of more complex problems, better continuous improvement, more successful digital transformations, and of course, breakthrough innovations. Next slide, please. And for us, what that's meant is that we've been able to drive dramatically better results through our teams. In one engagement, we outperformed IBM, won a piece of work away from IBM at a Prudential business unit, improved quality by 56%. In another engagement, we displaced Capgemini, another large global consulting firm, and increased test coverage to protect quality of an underwriting platform by 100x, not 100%, but 100x. And we did this with colleagues who, before joining Ultranauts, had never worked in this industry before, but over the course of several years became world-class quality engineers, simply by being given a fair shot to use their strengths and not being penalized for being wired differently. Next slide, please. And so I'll pause here, which is the way we do that is not by making accommodations for talent and colleagues who have different talent profiles. An accommodation is simply a Band-Aid. It's a symptom of the problem. It's not a solution. We're trying to redesign the workplace, every aspect of the business, from more objective data-driven recruiting to more flexible business practices to a more inclusive culture in measurable concrete terms, and developing a new set of processes and tools so that everyone, no matter how we're wired, can thrive. Thank you. So with that, let me pause here, and we'll switch gears a little bit. And I'd like to introduce my partner in crime for this for the next few minutes, Tom Edwards, who's the chair of the Department of Engineering, Tech, and Management at Temple University and the author of Leading Team Members with Superpowers.
Rajesh, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. It's a pleasure to meet you again. Pleasure to speak with you again. Pleasure to be here at this forum. Thanks, everyone. Big fan of your company, Rajesh. I'm the father of a neurodiverse young man. So I'm a fan of any company that can move the needle on these unemployment numbers that were discussed earlier. But I've also been a business manager who was responsible for profit and loss for 10 years and now a management scholar at Temple. So I know, both in my head and in my gut, that a business needs to perform financially. So as a small business, you must be under a lot of pressure to deliver financial performance. Help me understand how you build the kind of high performance teams needed to deliver value in your company.
Sure, Tom. I mean, the first thing to say is our economics aren't any different from a typical engineering or professional services firm, right? We pay our engineers and teammates competitive salaries. We charge our clients competitive rates, but we deliver far superior results. I mentioned the examples where we outperformed IBM or Capgemini, but we do that every day in measurable terms. And as a result, as a company, we've been growing at 50% a year. We've achieved profitability. We've actually closed the Series A round of financing last year. And so we're competing on even terms and showing that by having cognitive diverse teams and then creating a more universal workplace where everyone can thrive and contribute their very best work, we can outperform the market.
Terrific. That's great. That's a great story. I have another question now. Accountability is critical to any kind of organizational performance, but this is really difficult to get it right under the best of circumstances. Can you help me understand how you deal with accountability mechanisms like critical feedback and the always dreaded performance appraisal?
Sure. And, I'd go maybe a little bit beyond accountability, just transparency. Transparency is absolutely critical when you are bringing diverse team members together. What are the rules? What's expected? How do we work together? How do you measure value? How are decisions made? Like who gets to be on this project versus this one, or who gets to be promoted? Or how do we hold ourselves accountable to creating a workplace where everyone can thrive? And so we see transparency, and particularly transparency around decision-making and decision-making related talent, as absolutely mission critical. We're a bunch of engineers, so we don't talk about inclusion, we've defined it. It has 10 dimensions in our company. Each dimension's been translated to a statement, and we have a bot that polls our team at 5 p.m. local time with one of those poll statements, and the results of that go live in real time. It's like an HR survey going live every day. And so that creates extreme transparency, right? We've overhauled our performance review process. A couple years ago, there was a lot of energy around like we should be able to do this better. And so we invited our teammates who were passionate about it to come and do something about it. And so we had a group of 6 teammates, 5 on the spectrum, 2 have workplace PTSD, every single one of them incredibly capable and just kick-ass teammates. They took 2 quarters and basically ripped apart sort of the traditional performance review process and came back with 39 recommendations. We immediately implemented 25 of them, where kind of some of them are harder, not low-hanging fruit, but we're about to implement all of them. And I'll just share, one of them is so blindingly obvious, but this is what you get when you have cognitively diverse teams and you have the safety to question things that aren't working. Every performance review has the same rating scale. Does not meet expectations to exceeds expectation, right? Whose expectations are those? Are reviewer one's expectations the same as reviewer two's? And by the way, did you share those with me? So one of the simple fixes we've done is completely remove it and instead frame the sort of performance questions around competencies. Does person A consistently demonstrate competency B? Yes or no? And then your overall performance rating is, if you got all yeses from all your 360 reviews -1, you are exceeding expectations. And of course, the line manager can override the calculation, but it just creates extreme transparency around a process that, frankly, no organization is happy with. And there's always a better way. And all you need to do is just create the environment where different models of thinking and processing information and approaching the world can come together and thrive.
That's terrific. Yeah, as an engineer and as a management scholar, your innovative approach to management innovations is really amazing. I think it's time. I'm getting pinged here that I need to wrap up. So this is my wrap up statement. And Rajesh, again, I really appreciate you spending the time chatting here today. This is very, very enlightening, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
This was a great program today, Steph. I want to start off by really thanking our planning committee. We just produced live TV for 60 minutes.
Wow.
There's a lot behind the scenes. As you know, Steph, you're in the business.
Absolutely. This was fantastic. I'm super happy again to have been able to participate. You know, I support PACT wholeheartedly and everything they do, but I think the content for today was just particularly compelling and impactful and all for a good cause.
Well, to my colleague Danielle Pinto and Anthony Buemi and his team at Brandbridge, great job. We got some terrific feedback from participants today, and you're going to see more of this, more really highly produced content like this. And by the way, this is going to be recorded. It has been recorded for both future viewing as well as sharing, because this is a message that needs to get out there. And we're really thankful again to our title sponsor, EY, and to our other sponsors, the Silver at Amatech and Vanguard, and as well our other PACT founding leaders, Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Capgemini and Invent, Cozen O'Connor, Dwayne Morris, Independence Blue Cross, New Spring, Osage, and Pepper Hamilton.
And we just want to remind you also that our two beneficiaries of today's PACT Foundation Breakfast are Transition Pathways at the A.J. Drexel Autism Institute at Drexel University and Coded by Kids. So we again encourage you to support those two worthwhile organizations using the QR code on your screen or the Eventbrite link, the link in the Eventbrite page.
Steph, I'm a hopeful person, an optimistic person, as you know, and I think today's program gave me a lot of optimism. Yeah, I often believe that we can address our challenges as a community through partnership. And I think about diversity, equity, inclusion as one of those areas that we need to bring more partnerships. Again, the theme, we can do more, we can do better. And this morning's program brought startups and smaller companies together with academia, together with large companies like EY and Independence Blue Cross. And I love to see those partnerships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the whole point of PACT. And it's important to have these conversations and continue these conversations. So I know that PACT will be doing what it can to continue to amplify these important conversations.
Well, Steph, thanks for your leadership and your involvement here today. Thank you to all of you for participating. And we look forward to bringing you future programming. Have a terrific day, a great holiday, and a wonderful weekend.
Have a great weekend.